The Xenos were not the first alien race to discover Earth and its inhabitants, but they were certainly the most perplexed by them. Their initial surveys had revealed a planet teeming with life, yet the dominant species, humans, appeared woefully underdeveloped technologically. These primitives, the Xenos scientists scoffed. How could they possibly be of any interest? But as the Xenos continued to observe the humans from afar, a begrudging sense of fascination began to take hold. While the humans lacked the sleek spaceships and advanced weaponry of the Xenos, they possessed an intriguing adaptability and resourcefulness that set them apart. The Xenos watched as humans tackled the harshest environments, from scorching deserts to frozen tundras, using little more than their wits and their hands. They saw them form complex social structures, build vast cities, and wage wars with ever-improving strategies and technologies. Most puzzling of all, the humans displayed a seemingly limitless capacity for innovation, constantly pushing the boundaries of what was possible. There may be more to these primitives than meets the eye, mused Xenos Commander Prevail as he pored over the latest reconnaissance data. We should observe them more closely. And so the Xenos intensified their surveillance, deploying advanced cloaking devices and remote probes to study the humans in secret. They monitored the humans' communication networks, analyzed their social behaviors, and even began to learn their languages. The more they observed, the more intrigued they became. One day, a routine scouting mission took an unexpected turn. A Xenos recon ship, invisible to the human eye, hovered over a bustling city, its sensors sweeping the area for potential subjects of interest. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the cabin. "What is the meaning of this?" Prevail demanded, rushing to the control console. "Sir, our cloaking device has been compromised," the pilot reported, panic in his voice. "We're being scanned." Prevail's eyes widened as he peered out the viewport. There, hovering silently beneath their ship, was a crude, angular craft, human in origin. But what truly astonished the Xenos commander was the fact that it had managed to detect their advanced stealth technology. "Impossible," Prevail breathed. How could these primitives have developed such capabilities? Before he could give the order to retreat, the human craft suddenly sprang to life, its engines roaring to life. In a flash, it streaked upwards, closing the distance between the two ships in seconds. Prevail braced himself for the inevitable impact, but to his amazement, the human craft did not attack. Instead, it maneuvered with a nimble grace that belied its appearance, deftly matching the Xenos ship's movements. The Xenos pilot struggled to evade the human craft, but no matter what evasive maneuvers he tried, the other ship stayed glued to their tail. Prevail could see the humans inside, their faces set with fierce determination. "By the ancients, how are they doing this?" he muttered, watching in awe as the human craft darted and weaved with uncanny precision. After a harrowing chase that left the Xenos vessel's systems dangerously overtaxed, the human craft suddenly peeled away, disappearing from sight as quickly as it had appeared. Prevail sagged with relief, ordering the pilot to return to their hidden base immediately. "This changes everything," he told his subordinates once they had safely docked. "The humans are far more capable than we had imagined. We must reevaluate our approach to observing them." In the days that followed, the Xenos redoubled their efforts to study the humans, deploying ever more advanced surveillance equipment and techniques. But no matter how hard they tried, they found themselves constantly outmaneuvered, their cloaked ships detected and their probes disabled with startling regularity. Prevail watched the reports with growing unease. The humans, it seemed, possessed an uncanny ability to adapt and overcome any obstacle placed in their path. Their technology might be primitive, but their ingenuity and resourcefulness more than made up for it. As the Xenos commander reviewed the latest data, a new realization dawned on him. These humans were not just passive subjects to be observed. They were active participants in their own destiny, constantly pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And if they could so easily thwart the Xenos' advanced technology, what else might they be capable of? Vrel knew then that the time had come to reconsider the Xenos approach to first contact. These humans were no mere primitives. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the Xenos would have to tread carefully if they hoped to avoid provoking the ire of this remarkable species. With a deep sigh, Vrel summoned his senior officers and began to outline a new strategy. The days of covert observation were over. It was time to make their presence known, and to see just what these humans were truly made of. The Xenos' initial attempts at first contact were cautious and measured. Vrel had ordered his officers to establish diplomatic channels, offering technological exchanges and promising peaceful coexistence. However, the humans proved to be a stubborn and unpredictable lot, rebuffing the Xenos' overtures with a mixture of suspicion and defiance. They refused to see reason. Vrel lamented to his lieutenants, "How can we forge an alliance with such an obstinate species?" Frustrated by the humans' intransigence, some of the Xenos scientists argued for a more forceful approach. If the humans would not cooperate willingly, they reasoned, then perhaps they could be compelled to do so. "We should select a few choice specimens and bring them back to our homeworld for further study," one of the scientists proposed. "Surely, once they see the benefits of our technology and culture, they will be more amenable to collaboration." Vrel hesitated, understanding the risks of such a bold move. The humans had already demonstrated a remarkable capacity for defending their own, as evidenced by the earlier encounter with the cloaked Xenos ship. But the potential rewards of acquiring human subjects for research were simply too tempting to ignore. "Very well," Vrel conceded, "but proceed with caution. We cannot afford to antagonize these humans further." And so, the Xenos launched a series of carefully orchestrated abduction attempts, employing their most advanced cloaking and teleportation technologies to spirit away unsuspecting human targets. The initial strikes were surgical, with the Xenos managing to snatch a handful of individuals from crowded urban areas without drawing any significant attention. However, the humans proved to be far more resilient and resourceful than the Xenos had anticipated. Time and time again, their captives would somehow break free of their restraints, often overpowering their Xenos captors in the process. "Impossible," the scientists cried, watching in disbelief as their carefully planned operations crumbled. "How can these primitives be so strong, so adaptable?" But the humans' most astonishing feat was yet to come. In a daring move, one of the abducted individuals managed to infiltrate a Xenos transport ship, wreaking havoc among the crew before escaping back to Earth. Vrel pored over the security footage, his mandibles twitching with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The human had moved with a fluid grace that belied their seemingly fragile physiology, effortlessly navigating the alien vessel's corridors and disabling the Xenos guards with a series of precise, economical strikes. "This changes everything," Vrel murmured, his mind racing. "We can no longer underestimate these humans." Shaken by this turn of events, the Xenos leadership convened an emergency meeting to reevaluate their strategy. Some argued for abandoning the abduction program altogether, fearing that it would only serve to further antagonize the humans. Others, however, were convinced that the potential rewards still outweighed the risks. "We must persevere," one of the more hawkish Xenos insisted. "These humans possess knowledge and capabilities that could be invaluable to our civilization. We cannot afford to let them slip through our grasp." Vrel listened to the heated debate, his own misgivings growing with each passing moment. He had seen firsthand the humans' uncanny ability to adapt and overcome, and the thought of provoking their wrath filled him with a sense of dread. "Very well," he relented at last, raising a hand to silence the clamoring voices. "We will continue the abduction program, but with a renewed focus on caution and subtlety. I will not risk further alienating these humans, not when we have so much to gain from their cooperation." The Xenos scientists nodded, their expressions a mix of triumph and trepidation. Vrel knew that they were treading a dangerous path, but the lure of unlocking the secrets of human biology and technology was simply too great to resist. As the meeting adjourned, Vrel couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. The humans were proving to be far more formidable than the Xenos had ever imagined, and he couldn't shake the nagging suspicion that their current course of action was leading them down a perilous road. "We must tread carefully," he murmured to himself, already planning the next steps. "For if we push these humans too far, the consequences could be dire." Undeterred by the setbacks of their earlier abduction attempts, the Xenos leadership doubled down on their efforts to capture human subjects. This time, they would leave nothing to chance. Vrel assembled his most seasoned operatives, tasking them with meticulously planning and executing a series of coordinated strikes across multiple human population centers. The Xenos would deploy their most advanced cloaking and teleportation technologies, snatching their targets with lightning speed and precision. "We cannot afford any mistakes this time," Vrel warned his team. "The humans have proven themselves to be a formidable adversary. We must be prepared for anything." And so, the Xenos launched their ambitious campaign, their ships silently descending upon unsuspecting human cities under the cover of night. One by one, the targets were selected and swiftly transported back to the Xenos' hidden research facilities. But to Vrel's growing dismay, the humans were ready. At each abduction site, the Xenos were met with a coordinated resistance that caught them completely off guard. Alarms blared, and human security forces swarmed the area, their weapons blazing. The Xenos operators, for all their technological superiority, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned by the tenacious humans. "How is this possible?" One of the Xenos captains radioed in a panic. "We were cloaked, our teleportation systems functioning perfectly. How did they know we were coming?" Vrel's mandibles twitched with a mixture of frustration and awe as he watched the unfolding chaos on the live feeds. The humans, it seemed, had developed a remarkable ability to counter the Xenos' most advanced technologies. "They've adapted," he breathed, realizing the gravity of the situation. "They found a way to detect our cloaked ships and disrupt our teleportation." Worse still, the humans were not content to merely fend off the Xenos' incursions. In several instances, their security forces managed to board the Xenos vessels, engaging the crews in a desperate struggle for control. Vrel watched in horror as his most seasoned operatives were overwhelmed by the humans' sheer ferocity and resourcefulness. "Retreat," he barked into the communications channel. "All teams, abort the mission and return to base immediately." The Xenos ships hastily disengaged, their damaged systems straining as they fled the human cities. Vrel could only imagine the humiliation and fury felt by his subordinates, but he knew that they had no choice. The humans had proven themselves to be a far more capable adversary than the Xenos had ever anticipated. As the ships docked safely back at the Xenos base, Vrel convened an emergency meeting of his top commanders and scientists. The mood was somber, tinged with a sense of unease and uncertainty. "We underestimated the humans," Vrel admitted, his voice heavy with a rare display of emotion. "Their ability to adapt and overcome our technologies is nothing short of remarkable." The Xenos scientists exchanged troubled glances, their earlier confidence shaken by the turn of events. "What do we do now?" one of them asked. "We cannot simply abandon our efforts to study these humans. Their knowledge and capabilities could be invaluable to our civilization." Vrel considered the question carefully, his mind racing with contingencies and possibilities. Finally, he raised a hand, silencing the murmurs of the gathered Xenos. "We must re-evaluate our approach," he declared. "Brute force and subterfuge are clearly no longer viable options. If we are to succeed in our endeavor, we must find a new way to engage with the humans, one that does not provoke their wrath." The Xenos commanders nodded slowly, their expressions grim but resolute. They knew that the stakes had been raised, and that they could no longer afford to underestimate their human counterparts. "We shall return to the drawing board," Vrel continued, his tone grave. "We must devise a new strategy, one that acknowledges the humans' formidable capabilities and seeks to forge a path of cooperation, not confrontation." As the meeting adjourned, Vrel couldn't help but feel a growing sense of trepidation. The humans had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, and he knew that the Xenos would have to tread carefully if they hoped to avoid incurring the full brunt of human wrath. These humans, he murmured to himself, are far more than mere primitives. They are a force to be reckoned with, and we would do well to remember that. Vrel knew that the Xenos' recent failures had dealt a significant blow to their pride and confidence. Their attempts to abduct human subjects had been thwarted at every turn, with the humans demonstrating a level of resilience and adaptability that far exceeded the Xenos' expectations. As the Xenos leadership regrouped to devise a new strategy, a radical proposal began to take shape, one that would test the limits of the humans' resolve. If we cannot compel the humans to cooperate through conventional means, argued one of the Xenos scientists, then perhaps we should try a different approach, one that leverages their own vulnerabilities against them. Vrel listened as the plan was laid out in chilling detail. The Xenos would carefully select a high-profile human target, a child, perhaps, or a respected leader, and abduct them under the cover of darkness. Then, they would issue a set of demands, using the captive as a bargaining chip to force the humans into submission. The humans are fiercely protective of their own, the scientist continued, his eyes glinting with a calculating gleam. If we threaten one of their own, they will be forced to capitulate to our demands, lest they risk the safety of their precious offspring. Vrel felt a twinge of unease at the suggestion, but he could not deny the logic behind it. The humans had proven themselves to be a formidable adversary, and the Xenos were running out of options. If this bold gambit succeeded, it could tip the scales in their favor, and provide them with the human subjects they so desperately needed for their research. Very well, Vrel conceded, his mandibles twitching with a mixture of trepidation and determination. Proceed with the plan, but exercise the utmost caution. We cannot afford any mistakes this time. And so, the Xenos launched their most daring operation yet, deploying their most skilled operatives to carry out the abduction. Under the veil of night, they descended upon a human city, their cloaked ships silently hovering over a residential neighborhood. With surgical precision, they targeted a family home, teleporting a young child into their custody before vanishing back into the sky. The response from the humans was immediate and explosive. Sirens wailed, and security forces swarmed the abduction site, their weapons at the ready. But to the humans' horror, their quarry had already disappeared, leaving no trace behind. In the hours that followed, the Xenos issued their demands, their communique broadcast across every human communication channel. They demanded the humans' unconditional surrender, threatening the life of the captive child if their terms were not met. The humans, however, were not so easily cowed. Vrel watched with a growing sense of unease as the human leadership rallied their forces, deploying a coordinated response that defied all expectations. Within a matter of hours, a fleet of human craft, crude and angular, but undeniably agile, converged on the Xenos' hidden base. Vrel's mandibles clicked in alarm as he recognized the signature of the ship that had evaded them during their earlier encounter. Impossible, he breathed, his eyes fixed on the rapidly approaching vessels. How did they find us? The answer became clear as the human ships opened fire, their weapons blazing with a fury that the Xenos had never witnessed. Vrel's subordinates scrambled to activate the base's defenses, but the humans had clearly anticipated their moves, their attacks precisely targeting the Xenos' most vulnerable systems. In the chaos that followed, Vrel watched in horror as a team of human commandos stormed the facility, their faces set with grim determination. With a sinking feeling, he realized that they had come for the captive child, and that they would stop at nothing to retrieve them. The Xenos fought with everything they had, but the humans were relentless, their tactics and firepower overwhelming the Xenos' technological advantages. One by one, the Xenos' defenses crumbled, and Vrel knew that they were facing an inevitable defeat. As the human forces closed in on the child's holding cell, Vrel made a fateful decision. With a heavy heart, he ordered his subordinates to stand down and release the captive, recognizing that further resistance would only lead to catastrophic losses. The human commandos swept in, their weapons trained on the Xenos guards, and swiftly retrieved the child, whisking them away to safety. Vrel watched them go, his mandibles hanging slack with a mix of awe and despair. "We underestimated them," he murmured, shaking his head. "These humans are more than mere primitives. They are a force to be reckoned with." As the human ships departed, leaving the battered and humiliated Xenos in their wake, Vrel knew that the balance of power had shifted. The humans had demonstrated a level of resourcefulness, adaptability, and sheer tenacity that the Xenos could scarcely comprehend. And in that moment, Vrel realized that the Xenos' very survival might depend on their ability to forge a new path, one that acknowledged the humans as equals and sought to harness their remarkable capabilities for mutual benefit. The future, it seemed, would be shaped not by the Xenos' technological superiority, but by the human spirit, a spirit that refused to be broken, no matter the odds. In the aftermath of the failed abduction attempt, the Xenos leadership convened an emergency meeting to dissect the events and reevaluate their strategy. Vrel, still reeling from the humiliating defeat, stood before his subordinates, his mandibles twitching with a mixture of frustration and uncertainty. "We have severely underestimated the humans," he began, his voice grave. "Their ability to adapt, strategize, and overcome our technological advantages is nothing short of remarkable." The Xenos scientists and military commanders exchanged troubled glances, the weight of Vrel's words hanging heavy in the air. They had all witnessed firsthand the humans' tenacity and resourcefulness, but the sheer scale of their capabilities had left them shaken. "How is this possible?" One of the scientists finally spoke up, his voice laced with a touch of desperation. "Their technology is primitive, their physiology seemingly fragile. How could they have overcome our superior firepower and defenses with such ease?" Vrel raised a hand, silencing the murmurs that had begun to ripple through the room. "That, my fellow Xenos, is precisely the question we must answer. Because the truth is, the humans have been holding back, and what we have seen so far is merely a glimpse of their true potential." The gathered Xenos fell silent, the weight of Vrel's words sinking in. Suddenly, the scope of their miscalculation became clear, and a pervasive sense of dread began to creep into their consciousness. "If they have been restraining themselves," one of the military commanders said, his voice barely above a whisper, "then what else are they capable of?" Vrel's gaze swept across the room, meeting the eyes of each of his subordinates in turn. "That, my friends, is the question that now haunts us all. For if the humans have been holding back, then we are facing a threat far more formidable than we could have ever imagined." The Xenos scientists and commanders exchanged uneasy glances, their minds racing with the implications. If the humans were truly capable of so much more than they had displayed, then the Xenos' very survival might be at stake. "We must learn more," Vrel said, his tone resolute. "We must understand the full extent of the humans' capabilities, their motivations, and their true nature. Only then can we hope to devise a strategy that will ensure our own survival, and perhaps even our coexistence." With renewed purpose, the Xenos leadership set to work, poring over every scrap of data they had gathered on the humans. They studied their communication networks, their social structures, and their technological advancements, searching for clues that might unlock the mystery of the human spirit. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the Xenos found themselves increasingly confounded. The humans, it seemed, were a constantly evolving enigma, their capabilities and behaviors defying all attempts at categorization and prediction. "They are not bound by the same constraints as us," one of the scientists mused, his eyes reflecting a mixture of awe and trepidation. "Their adaptability, their resilience, their capacity for innovation, it is unlike anything we have ever encountered." Vrel nodded, his mandibles clicking in contemplation. "Indeed, my friend. And that is precisely what makes them such a formidable adversary, and potentially a valuable ally." The Xenos commander knew that the path forward would not be an easy one. The humans had proven themselves to be unpredictable and unyielding, and any misstep could once again provoke their wrath. But the potential rewards of forging a lasting alliance with this remarkable species were too great to ignore. "We must tread carefully," Vrel said, his voice tinged with a rare note of caution. "For if we push these humans too far, the consequences could be catastrophic. But if we can find a way to harness their capabilities, to work with them as true partners, the possibilities are limitless." As the meeting drew to a close, Vrel could sense the renewed determination and resolve among his fellow Xenos. They had been humbled, their assumptions shattered, but in that humbling lay the seeds of a new understanding, one that could lead them to a future of unprecedented cooperation and advancement. "The humans," Vrel murmured, his gaze fixed on the horizon, "are not our enemies. They are our equals, and perhaps even our salvation." With that, he turned and strode from the chamber, his steps imbued with a newfound sense of purpose. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but Vrel was determined to forge a new course, one that would ensure the Xenos' survival and perhaps even their ascension to a level of greatness they had never before imagined. The Xenos' failed attempt to use a human child as a bargaining chip had proven to be a catastrophic miscalculation. Not only had the humans responded with a ferocity that stunned the Xenos commanders, but they had also managed to infiltrate the Xenos' hidden base and retrieve the captive with alarming ease. As the dust settled and the Xenos forces licked their wounds, a sense of deep unease began to permeate the ranks. The full scope of their misjudgment was slowly sinking in, and the realization that they had severely underestimated their human counterparts was a bitter pill to swallow. Vrel, the Xenos commander who had spearheaded the abduction attempt, found himself the target of growing discontent and criticism from his subordinates. Some demanded that he be stripped of his command, while others called for a complete withdrawal from human space, arguing that the risk of further confrontation was simply too great. Weighed down by the burden of his failed gambit, Vrel retreated to his private quarters, his mandibles twitching with a mixture of frustration and self-doubt. The image of the human commandos storming his base, their weapons blazing, was seared into his memory, a constant reminder of the humans' incredible resilience and determination. "How could we have been so blind?" he muttered to himself, pacing the confines of his chamber. "These humans are not the primitives we thought them to be. They are a force to be reckoned with, one that we cannot afford to underestimate any longer." As Vrel pondered his options, a growing sense of dread began to creep into his psyche. The Xenos had always prided themselves on their technological superiority and their unwavering discipline, but the humans had shattered those assumptions with alarming ease. The thought of facing their wrath again was enough to fill the Xenos commander with a palpable sense of fear. "We must retreat," Vrel finally decided, his mandibles clicking with a finality that brooked no argument. "We cannot risk further confrontation with these humans. Our very survival may depend on it." Summoning his senior officers, Vrel outlined his plan for a complete withdrawal from human space, a decision that was met with a mixture of relief and trepidation. Some of the more battle-hardened Xenos protested, arguing that they should regroup and mount a counteroffensive, but Vrel's resolve was unwavering. "We have seen what these humans are capable of," he said, his tone brooking no dissent. "They have demonstrated a level of adaptability and resilience that we cannot hope to match. Any further aggression on our part will only invite their wrath, and that is a risk I am not willing to take." Reluctantly, the Xenos commanders acquiesced, and the order was given to disengage from human space and return to their homeworld. As the Xenos ships prepared for their hasty retreat, Vrel could not help but feel a sense of unease and uncertainty. "What will become of us?" he wondered, his gaze fixed on the receding image of the human planet. "Have we doomed our civilization by turning our backs on these remarkable beings?" The journey back to the Xenos homeworld was a somber and subdued affair. The once proud commanders and scientists who had set out to study and subjugate the humans, now returned with their tails between their legs, their confidence shaken and their ambitions thwarted. Upon their arrival, the news of the Xenos' defeat spread like wildfire, sparking a wave of panic and recrimination. Vrel found himself the target of intense scrutiny and criticism, his leadership questioned at every turn. "How could you have allowed this to happen?" one of the elders demanded, his mandibles clacking with barely contained fury. "You have jeopardized the very future of our species." Vrel met the elder's accusation with a stoic calm, his own sense of failure weighing heavily upon him. "I did what I believed was necessary to protect our people," he replied, his voice tinged with a rare note of uncertainty. But the humans proved to be more formidable than we ever could have imagined. As the Xenos leadership grappled with the fallout of their disastrous encounter with the humans, a sense of profound unease began to settle over their once proud civilization. The specter of human wrath loomed large, a constant reminder of the fragility of their own technological and military might. Vrel, now ostracized and relegated to the fringes of Xenos society, could only watch as his people succumbed to a debilitating paranoia. They sealed their borders, redoubling their defensive measures, and living in constant fear that the humans would one day come knocking on their door. "We have doomed ourselves," Vrel murmured, his mandibles clicking with a sense of resignation. "By turning our backs on the humans, we have only ensured our own isolation and vulnerability." As the Xenos hunkered down, their once ambitious plans for expansion and technological advancement grinding to a halt, Vrel knew that the true cost of their failure would be borne by generations to come. The humans, he realized, were no mere primitives. They were a force to be reckoned with, and their potential was a threat that the Xenos could no longer ignore. Back on Earth, the incidents with the Xenos had become the stuff of legend among the human population. The harrowing tales of resourceful humans outmaneuvering and overpowering their technologically superior alien counterparts quickly spread through whispered conversations, news reports, and online forums. As the details of the confrontations began to trickle down, a newfound sense of pride and awe swept through the human collective consciousness. Ordinary citizens, once resigned to the assumed technological and military superiority of the Xenos, now looked upon their kind with a mixture of respect and defiance. "Can you believe it?" a young office worker named Alina exclaimed to her colleagues during their lunch break. "Those aliens thought they could just swoop in and snatch one of our kids. Well, they got a hell of a wake-up call, didn't they?" Her coworkers nodded in agreement, their eyes shining with a newfound sense of confidence. "Dan Wright," one of the men chimed in, a wry grin spreading across his face. "Nobody messes with us humans, and gets away with it." This sentiment echoed across the globe, as the stories of human resilience and triumph over the Xenos invaders captured the imagination of people from all walks of life. Children, in particular, latched onto the tales, weaving them into their own fantastical narratives of heroism and adventure. "When I grow up, I'm going to be just like those people who saved the kid from the aliens," a young boy named Liam told his parents, his eyes alight with determination. "I'm going to train and become the best fighter ever, so I can protect our planet from those stupid aliens." His parents, once skeptical of the alien encounters, found themselves swelling with pride at their son's newfound sense of purpose and patriotism. The stories had taken on a life of their own, transcending the realm of mere facts and becoming an integral part of the human cultural fabric. As the years passed, the legends only continued to grow, with each retelling embellishing the feats of the human heroes. Older generations regaled younger ones with tales of cunning tactics, daring rescues, and unparalleled bravery, their voices tinged with a mixture of awe and reverence. "You should have seen the look on those aliens' faces when our people stormed their base," a grandfather recounted to his wide-eyed grandchildren. "They thought they had us all figured out, but we showed them who's really in charge around here." The younger generations, in turn, embraced these stories with fervent enthusiasm, weaving them into their own dreams and aspirations. The reputation for fierce protectiveness and unrelenting vengeance that the humans had earned became a powerful deterrent, deterring any would-be interlopers from even contemplating an attack on Earth. "Nobody's going to mess with us," a high school student named Ava declared to her peers during a heated discussion. "The aliens know what'll happen if they try. We'll hunt them down and make them regret the day they ever set foot on our planet." This sense of unwavering loyalty and willingness to go to any lengths to defend their own became a defining trait of the human species in the eyes of the Xenos. The stories of their exploits had taken on a near-mythical quality, casting the humans as formidable guardians of their home world, a force to be reckoned with, and one that the Xenos could ill afford to provoke. As the generations passed, the legends of human heroism and defiance against the alien invaders became ingrained in the collective consciousness of humanity, shaping the cultural values and attitudes of those who came after. The human spirit, forged in the crucible of these momentous encounters, had been tempered and strengthened, imbuing the species with a resolve that would echo through the ages. "We are not to be trifled with," a seasoned diplomat named Gia told a visiting Xenos delegation, her gaze unwavering. "The stories you have heard are no mere fabrications. They are a testament to the indomitable will of the human race, a will that will never be broken, no matter the odds." The Xenos envoys, their mandibles twitching with a mixture of awe and trepidation, could only nod in silent acknowledgement. The tales of human resilience and ferocity had become a powerful deterrent, a warning to any who would dare to underestimate the capabilities of this remarkable species. And so, the legend of the human kidnappers who had bested the mighty Xenos grew, its influence spreading far beyond the confines of Earth and into the wider galactic community. The humans had proven themselves to be more than mere primitives. They were a force to be reckoned with, and their reputation as fierce, unwavering protectors of their own would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. Years had passed since the Xenos' ill-fated attempt to subdue the humans and claim their world as their own. In the aftermath of their humiliating defeat, the alien race had retreated to the farthest reaches of their empire, sealing their borders and living in constant fear of the wrath they had so foolishly provoked. The humans, meanwhile, had emerged from the confrontation with a newfound sense of confidence and purpose. The legends of their exploits had become deeply ingrained in the cultural fabric of their civilization, inspiring generations to come with a fierce determination to protect their homeworld and their own. As the decades unfolded, the human race continued to push the boundaries of their technological and scientific capabilities, driven by a relentless curiosity and a refusal to be constrained by their perceived limitations. The once primitive species had blossomed into a formidable force, their innovations and advancements rippling through the galaxy like a tidal wave. And with their growing power came a newfound respect and even fear from the other alien civilizations that occupy the galactic stage. The Xenos, once the undisputed masters of their domain, now found themselves confined to the fringes of the known universe, their every move watched with a wary eye. The humans, a Xenos elder whispered to his peers, his mandibles twitching with a mixture of awe and trepidation. They have become a force to be reckoned with. Indeed, the humans had taken their place among the galactic community with a confidence and assertiveness that belied their relatively recent emergence from the constraints of their own planet. They negotiated trade agreements, forged alliances, and even ventured out into the stars, their exploratory missions greeted with a mix of curiosity and caution from their alien counterparts. "They are no longer the primitives we once dismissed," another Xenos commander murmured, his eyes fixed on the latest intelligence reports. "They have become our equals, and perhaps even our superiors." This newfound respect was not lost on the humans, who embraced their newfound status with a sense of pride and responsibility. They understood the weight of their actions, the consequences of their decisions, and the impact they could have on the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. "We have a duty to use our capabilities wisely," a seasoned human diplomat named Gia told her colleagues during a high-level meeting. "We cannot allow ourselves to be consumed by the same hubris that once blinded the Xenos. We must forge our own path, one that ensures the safety and prosperity of our people, while also respecting the sovereignty of our neighbors. And so, the humans embarked on a diplomatic offensive, reaching out to the other alien civilizations with a hand of friendship and cooperation. They shared their technological advancements, offered assistance in times of crisis, and even facilitated the establishment of a galactic governing body, one that would ensure the maintenance of peace and the equitable distribution of resources. The Xenos, for their part, watched these developments with a mixture of grudging admiration and lingering resentment. They had once seen the humans as little more than primitives, ripe for exploitation and subjugation. But now, they found themselves humbled, their own technological and military might paling in comparison to the humans' ever-growing capabilities. "We were fools," one of the Xenos elders admitted, his voice tinged with a rare note of contrition. "We underestimated them, and in doing so, we have doomed ourselves to a position of weakness and isolation." As the years passed, the human presence in the galactic community only continued to expand. They forged alliances, established trade routes, and even ventured into the realm of interstellar exploration, their ships venturing deeper into the unknown than any other civilization had dared. And with each new achievement, the Xenos found themselves slipping further and further into obscurity. They had once been the dominant force in the galaxy, but now they were relegated to the sidelines, their once vaunted technology and military might rendered obsolete by the humans' relentless drive for innovation and progress. "We have lost our place in the stars," another Xenos commander lamented, his mandibles hanging slack with a sense of defeat. "And it is all because we dared to challenge the might of the human race." As the Xenos hunkered down, their self-imposed isolation only serving to further weaken their standing in the galactic community, the humans continued to ascend. They became a respected and even feared presence, their fierce loyalty and unwavering determination to defend their own ensuring that no other civilization would dare to cross them. And in the end, the Xenos' greatest fear had been realized. The humans had not only proven themselves to be the equals of their alien counterparts, but they had also emerged as the dominant force in the galaxy, their influence and power reaching new heights with each passing year. It was a new era, one defined by the extraordinary capabilities of the human race, a race that had once been dismissed as mere primitives, but had now risen to the forefront of the galactic community, commanding the respect and even the awe of their alien neighbors.